Your doctor has probably told you at some point to eat healthier for your kidneys, and you nodded along, maybe added an extra vegetable to dinner, and left it at that. Here is what almost certainly never came up in that conversation. It is not just what you eat that affects your kidneys. It is when you eat it. And there is one specific fruit, eaten at one specific point in your evening, that has real research behind it for supporting kidney function, in a way that eating the exact same fruit at breakfast simply does not replicate. Let me say that again. Same fruit, same nutrients, different time of day, measurably different effect on the system that filters your blood every minute of every day. Now here is the thing. This is not about a miracle food. Nothing you eat before bed is going to reverse existing kidney damage. And I want to be completely clear about that from the start. This is about a genuinely evidence-backed piece of nutrition science that almost never gets explained properly, because most nutrition advice treats what to eat and when to eat it as two completely separate conversations, when for your kidneys, they are deeply connected. Most people over 60 have been told at some point to eat more fruit for their overall health. And most of that advice is perfectly reasonable as far as it goes. What it almost never includes is any mention of timing, or any acknowledgement that some fruits carry hidden considerations that matter enormously if your kidney function has already started to decline. And stay with me until the end, because the number one reason timing matters this much is the one piece of physiology almost nobody explains to patients. And once you understand it, you will never think about your evening snack the same way again. I'm Dr. David, and this is Wellness After 60. I've spent my career studying exactly this, how the body changes after 60, and what the actual research says you should do about it. This channel exists for one reason: to give you the kind of kidney health information that too often gets left out of a 15-minute doctor's appointment. Real science, specific numbers, nothing held back. Before we go further, drop your age and whether you already watch your potassium intake in the comments below. I read every single one. This community means everything to me, and your experience could be exactly the insight another viewer needs to see when they scroll through those comments tonight. Before I tell you which fruit and exactly when to eat it, I need to explain something about how your kidneys actually work across a 24-hour cycle, because this is the piece that makes everything else make sense. Your blood pressure is not flat throughout the day. In a healthy pattern, it should drop by at least 10% overnight compared with your daytime average, a phenomenon researchers call nocturnal dipping. Think of it like your kidneys getting a scheduled maintenance window every night, a period of lower pressure during which the delicate filtering structures inside them experience less mechanical strain than they do during your active waking hours. A landmark study published in the Archives of Internal Medicine followed patients over time and found that an impaired or blunted overnight blood pressure drop was independently associated with a subsequent decline in glomerular filtration rate, the standard measure of how well your kidneys are filtering your blood. Now here is where it gets counterintuitive. A more recent study, following 3,152 adults with chronic kidney disease, found that the day-to-night ratio of sodium and potassium excreted in the urine was directly linked to whether someone showed this healthy overnight blood pressure drop or not. Patients whose bodies excreted proportionally less sodium and potassium at night showed nocturnal systolic blood pressure readings 12 millimeters of mercury higher than those with a healthier day-to-night excretion pattern. This is not alarmism. This is the biology. And once you understand that your evening nutrient intake genuinely interacts with your overnight blood pressure pattern, everything I am about to show you will make complete sense. I want you to visualize this for a moment. Picture your blood pressure across 24 hours as a wave, rising through the day as you move, eat, and manage stress, then supposed to fall into a trough overnight while you sleep. That overnight trough is not just restful for you. It is restful for your kidneys specifically, giving the small blood vessels inside them, called glomeruli, a nightly break from the higher pressures of your waking hours. When that trough gets shallow or disappears entirely, which researchers call a non-dipping pattern, the kidneys are essentially working a double shift with no scheduled rest period, day after day, year after year. This is exactly the pattern that has been linked, in the research I just described, to faster declines in filtering capacity over time. We are counting down 5 specific reasons the research points to one particular fruit, eaten before bed, as a genuinely useful addition to a kidney-conscious evening routine. Number 1 is the reason that ties directly back to the mechanism I just described, and it is the one that surprised me most when I first read the research. Number 5 is antioxidant capacity. Here is what most people get wrong about this. People hear antioxidants and assume it is a vague marketing word without real substance behind it. But here is what actually happens inside your body. Your kidneys process an enormous volume of blood continuously, which generates a significant amount of oxidative stress, a kind of cellular wear and tear caused by unstable molecules called free radicals. A study published examining dietary total antioxidant capacity followed 9,777 adults aged 35 to 65 in the RANCD cohort and found that a diet with a higher total antioxidant capacity was associated with better preserved kidney function, measured by estimated glomerular filtration rate, and a lower prevalence of chronic kidney disease. Blueberries specifically carry one of the highest antioxidant densities of any commonly available fruit, largely due to a class of compounds called anthocyanins, the pigments responsible for their deep blue-purple color. So here is the move. A single cup of fresh or frozen blueberries, roughly 5 ounces by weight, provides a meaningful antioxidant contribution without requiring any special preparation. And here is a synergy tip. Pairing blueberries with a small handful of walnuts has been shown in several dietary pattern studies to further increase total antioxidant intake for the meal, since walnuts contribute a different class of antioxidant compounds that work through a separate biological pathway. I know what some of you are thinking. I already eat plenty of fruit during the day. Does it matter which fruit specifically? Here is the honest answer. Many fruits contribute meaningfully to total antioxidant intake, and this video is not suggesting other fruits have no value. Blueberries simply sit near the top of that list, while also, as you will see in a moment, carrying one of the more favorable potassium profiles for anyone who needs to watch that mineral closely. Number 4 is the specific flavonoid content of blueberries and their measured association with lower chronic kidney disease risk in large-scale human research, not just laboratory studies. Here is what most people get wrong about this. Many nutrition claims about kidney protective foods are based only on cell studies or animal models, which do not always translate to real outcomes in people. But here is what actually happens inside your body, and here is the research behind it. A prospective cohort study published in 2025 in the journal Clinical Nutrition followed 109,711 adults for an average of 10.5 years and identified 4,257 new cases of chronic kidney disease during that follow-up. Pause. Let me say that again. Participants with the highest intake of flavonoid-rich foods, including berries, apples, and oranges, had a 16% lower risk of developing chronic kidney disease compared with those with the lowest intake. When berries specifically were examined on their own, higher intake was independently associated with a meaningfully lower risk. Now, I want to be very careful here because I know what some of you are thinking. Does this mean blueberries alone will protect my kidneys? This is a fair question, and the honest answer is no single food works in isolation. The researchers found the effect was partly explained by improvements in triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, blood sugar control, and inflammation markers, meaning blueberries appear to help by supporting several of the same systems that damage kidneys when left unmanaged, rather than acting on the kidney directly through some isolated mechanism. So here is the move. Treat a daily cup of blueberries as one piece of a broader pattern, alongside the vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins your physician has likely already recommended, rather than a standalone fix. And here is a synergy tip. The same study found red wine and grapes carried similar flavonoid benefits. So if you do not drink alcohol, red or purple grapes make a very close nutritional substitute with the same flavonoid family. The researchers also specifically measured oranges within this same large cohort and found a comparable, though slightly smaller, protective association, which tells us this is not a single fruit fluke, but a broader pattern across several flavonoid-rich foods, with berries consistently near the top of that list. Number 3 is the anti-inflammatory effect, specific to the berry family, which matters because chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the primary drivers of kidney function decline over time. Here is what most people get wrong about this. Inflammation is often talked about only in the context of arthritis or injury, not kidney health, so the connection gets missed entirely. But here is what actually happens inside your body. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial gave 30 patients with stage 3 to 4 chronic kidney disease either a cranberry extract supplement or a placebo for 2 months, and measured specific markers of inflammation and oxidative stress in their blood cells. The cranberry extract group showed favorable changes in the activity of NRF2, a protein that switches on the body's natural antioxidant defenses, along with reductions in markers of lipid peroxidation, a form of cellular damage linked to inflammation. This is not a supplement store claim. This is not supplement industry science. This is give your kidneys less background inflammation to fight every single day science. Now I want to be very careful here, because this particular trial used a concentrated extract, not a bowl of fresh berries. So I am not telling you a cup of blueberries will replicate a clinical strength supplement dose. What it does tell us is that the underlying compound family found across blueberries, cranberries, and blackberries has a real, measurable anti-inflammatory signature in exactly this patient population. So here is the move. If you already have diagnosed kidney disease, this is a conversation to have directly with your nephrologist, since the appropriate whole food serving size differs meaningfully from a concentrated therapeutic extract. And here is a synergy tip. Rotating between blueberries, blackberries, and a small serving of cranberries across the week, rather than eating the identical fruit daily, exposes your body to a broader spectrum of anthocyanin subtypes, since different berries concentrate slightly different compounds within this same protective family. And variety appears to matter as much as total quantity in the research on dietary antioxidant patterns. Quick pause. If this is giving you real, usable information, the kind you can actually apply tonight, take 1 second and tap that subscribe button. It genuinely helps this information reach more people over 60 who need to hear it. Now let's move to number 2. Number 2 is potassium load. And this is the point where I need to be the most careful and the most specific, because it is also where a well-meaning recommendation can become genuinely dangerous if applied to the wrong person. Here is what most people get wrong about this. Many popular kidney superfood lists recommend bananas, oranges, or avocados without ever mentioning potassium content. And for someone with moderate to advanced chronic kidney disease, that omission is not a small oversight, it can be a genuinely risky one. Here is what actually happens inside your body. Healthy kidneys filter excess potassium efficiently, keeping blood levels within a narrow, safe range, no matter how much potassium-rich food you eat in a given day. But as kidney function declines, that filtering capacity drops, and potassium can build up in the bloodstream to dangerous levels, a condition called hyperkalemia, which in severe cases can affect heart rhythm. A single cup of blueberries contains roughly 114 milligrams of potassium, compared with well over 400 milligrams in a medium banana. This is one of the specific reasons blueberries are frequently included on renal-friendly food lists used by dietitians working with kidney disease patients, precisely because they deliver meaningful antioxidant and flavonoid benefits at a comparatively low potassium cost. I am not here to tell you that potassium itself is bad. For most people with healthy kidney function, potassium from whole foods is genuinely protective for blood pressure and cardiovascular health. But if you have been told by your physician to monitor or limit potassium, this distinction between fruits matters enormously. And it is exactly the kind of detail that gets lost in generic eat more fruit advice. So here is the move. If you have diagnosed kidney disease of any stage, confirm your personal potassium target with your nephrologist or renal dietitian before adding any fruit, including blueberries, as a regular evening habit. If you do not have diagnosed kidney disease, a daily cup fits comfortably within a normal potassium intake for almost every adult. And here is a synergy tip. If you are monitoring potassium closely, frozen blueberries that have been thawed and had the liquid drained off carry a modestly lower effective potassium content than the fresh fruit eaten whole, since a portion of the potassium leaches into the liquid during the freeze-thaw process. This is a small, practical detail that renal dietitians sometimes use with patients who want to keep enjoying fruit within a restricted potassium budget. And it costs nothing to try. Type the number 1 in the comments if you already suspect this has something to do with sleep or blood pressure. It is a simple way to let me know you are here, and it tells me how many of you have already connected the dots. We have now arrived at number 1, and I want you to hear this carefully. The single biggest reason timing matters, more than which specific antioxidant or flavonoid we have discussed, comes back to that nocturnal blood pressure dipping mechanism from earlier in this video. Here is precisely what you need to know. Your body's overnight blood pressure drop depends heavily on how efficiently your kidneys handle sodium and potassium in the hours leading into sleep. A small, potassium-containing, low-sodium snack in the evening, like a cup of blueberries, eaten roughly 60 to 90 minutes before bed, supports the kind of favorable evening sodium to potassium balance that the research I described earlier associates with a healthier overnight blood pressure drop. Eating that identical cup of blueberries first thing in the morning instead does not disappear nutritionally, but it misses this specific evening window entirely, the window during which your kidneys are transitioning into their lower pressure overnight state. This is not a small distinction. This is not timing for the sake of timing. This is giving your kidneys the conditions they need during the exact hours they are supposed to be under the least strain, science. Now I want to be very careful here, because I know what some of you are thinking. Surely one evening snack cannot meaningfully shift something as complex as blood pressure rhythm. This is a fair question, and no single food is being presented here as capable of fixing an established, non-dipping pattern on its own, particularly in someone with significant kidney impairment or uncontrolled hypertension. What the research supports is more modest and more honest than that. An evening eating pattern that favors potassium-containing, low-sodium whole foods over salty evening snacks is associated with better nocturnal blood pressure patterns. And blueberries are simply one of the better studied, lowest potassium risk ways to do that consistently. So here is the move, and this is the single most useful takeaway from this entire video. Replace whatever salty evening snack you currently reach for, whether that is chips, crackers, or salted nuts, with a 1-cup serving of blueberries eaten 60 to 90 minutes before your usual bedtime on most nights of the week. And here is a synergy tip. Skipping added salt at dinner on the same evenings you have this blueberry snack compounds the effect, since the research on sodium to potassium ratio, not potassium in isolation, is what tracks most closely with healthy nocturnal blood pressure dipping. Think of it as 2 small evening choices working in the same direction, rather than one choice trying to do all the work alone. So let me pull this together for you. Here is what to do tonight. Swap your usual evening salty snack for a 1-cup serving of blueberries, fresh or frozen, eaten 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Keep dinner on the lighter side when it comes to added salt. And if you have any diagnosed kidney condition, bring this exact video, or at minimum the words evening potassium and nocturnal blood pressure dipping, to your next nephrology appointment, so your specific fruit and potassium targets can be set for your individual lab values, not a general audience. I also want to leave you with one more practical detail. If you take a blood pressure medication in the evening, particularly one your doctor has specifically timed for nighttime dosing to support that dipping pattern, this blueberry habit is not a replacement for that medication or its timing. It is simply a complementary piece sitting alongside it. Mention the change at your next visit so it can be noted alongside everything else being managed for your blood pressure and kidney health. You do not need to overhaul your entire evening routine tonight. Start with just the fruit swap. Master that for a week. Then look at your dinner sodium next. This is not a miracle cure. This is not a replacement for your prescribed medications or your regular lab monitoring. This is one specific, well-supported piece of evening nutrition that works with your kidney's natural overnight rhythm instead of against it. I'm Dr. David. This is Wellness After 60. Did you know timing mattered this much? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and your experience could be exactly the insight another viewer needs to see tonight. And if this video helped you, please subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself. See you in the next one.